When I reviewed the last Octopath Traveler game, I found its visuals to be stunning, but its writing to be lackluster. This promise of an A-protagonist storyline that weaved together into a grand adventure unfortunately dropped the ball. Its gameplay, on the other hand, seemed to make a name for itself with the promising battle system that was fun. It looks like Square Enix took all these criticisms to heart because Octopath Traveler 2 addresses just about all of them and makes a sequel that is one of the better RPGs I've played in the last year. Like its predecessor, Octopath Traveler 2 follows the path of a protagonist, but wow, has it gotten a major improvement in 2. In the first Octopath game, characters did eventually meet and connect, but they didn't really feel like they were written together in mind. Their connections felt forced, and thus, the climactic group ending was rather disappointing. That's majorly improved this time around. While not all of the characters are written equally, for example, Agnia's search for fame and glory notably falls flat when compared to the rest of the characters. With that said, none of the characters felt shallow as some of the moments in Octopath 1 did. On the contrary, it seems like Square Enix learned their lesson and has mainly focused on writing interesting characters that can stand on their own and together, rather than just the latter. That was a steady progression as the smile on my face widened the more hours I put into Octopath 2's main story. It's a long one too, with you easily spending 70 hours just to complete the main story alone. Of course, there are plenty of side quests and partner stories to tackle alongside the main story, and I was happy to see them also be better written this time too. Fans of classic turn-based SNES era RPGs are sure to find joy in Octopath Traveler 2. Like the first game, this harkens back to games like Final Fantasy VI and Chrono Trigger. Turn-based battles and a solid story to back it up. Your adventure starts off with, well, whoever you choose. You begin with a total of 8 characters, each of which with their own story, objective, and dilemma. Upon selecting one, they will become your main character. Upon completing the first chapter of their story, you can then think of this chapter as their introduction. The rest of the world opens up to you, letting you freely explore it. This also means that you can go ahead and head towards any other main characters and have them join your party. Upon meeting them, you'll also be able to go back and play their first chapter so you can get to know them too. This structure not only lets you pick a main character, but it also still feels like you really selected everyone as a main character. I love that structure, as it incentivizes me to explore and actively receive more story points at a consistent pace. The open sandbox structure does have some caveats though. You're welcome to pretty much go anywhere, which means no level gating. However, that also means you can accidentally walk into an overleveled boss fight and get your butt kicked. Without any real guidance, this game can truly feel free, but for newcomers, I can see it also coming off as discouraging after one bad battle. The turn-based battle system from the first game returns, thankfully, as I thought it found a good rhythm the first time around. Characters have their own weapons, some of which are strong against certain types of enemies. Skills can add buff or debuffs on the target while also adding some variety to your combat choices. The most unique aspects of Octopath's battle system though are its boost and breaks. Enemies will have a shield counter on them that can be broken and will leave an enemy stunned for its current and next turn. The boost on the other hand is earned every turn and can be stacked with an attack or skill to increase its damage or effects. It's a fun risk and reward system that makes battling interesting, especially during the grander boss fights. There's also the game's take on limit breaks that varies between characters. This can be anything from crafting a special item to applying an attack to a whole group of enemies. It's fun to experiment with the protagonist and find the right configuration for a battle. This all plays very well with the leveling and equipment that can earn you new skills to learn, weapons and armor to equip, and subclasses to unlock through jobs. Outside of combat, you'll be introduced to the usual RPG exploration sequences, wandering the open world, fighting mini-bosses, exploring dungeons, and of course looting. Each character also has a path action that you can think of as a skill that the character can use in the overworld. These change depending on the time of day, which you can control with the press of a button. Partidio, for example, can hire people at night, but then buy items from NPCs during the day. It's a nifty little feature that was fun to experiment with as I explored the different towns. Unfortunately, that fun and exploration can't be attributed to the dungeons that seem rather basic in design. No real interesting puzzles that unlock a hidden path or a secret treasure chest. That makes navigating them easy, but I wanted a bit more from them. The 2D HD visuals that seem to have started with Octopath Traveler 1 return for its sequel with more attention to the dynamic camera. Comparing gameplay from the first game to the second, I thought the camera was more static more frequently in the first game versus in the sequel. Lighting effects continue to stun with the beautiful contrast between the particle effects and the sprite work. Sprite work also looks fantastic, with more prominent bosses having detailed looks versus how the rest of the cast looks. That juxtaposition really emphasized the importance of these fights, making them feel more memorable in my eyes. For this review, I played on my OLED Nintendo Switch, primarily considering that the main platform for the first release was the Switch. In dock mode, you can expect a 900p resolution and 720p in handheld mode. The frame rate targets a mostly solid 30 FPS with the occasional drop during some battle sequences. Considering the sequel is also available on PC, PS4, and PS5 alongside the Switch, I wanted to see how they compared. Playing on my PC at 1440p 120 frames per second, I could immediately see the difference in sharpness and smoothness. Some particle effects were better suited on the stronger hardware, but outside of that, I really didn't mind the visual disparity. I don't really care if my sprite-based RPG is running at 30 FPS. Octopath Traveler 1 was practically carried by its music and presentation, and while that's not the case with the sequel, the music is still no slouch. Powerful themes that capture the atmosphere of all 8 characters stand at the forefront of the soundtrack, with accompanying marvelous battle themes and environmental tracks. The battle themes were my personal favorites, fully utilizing a series of drums and pedals that got me really pumped up. Voice acting equally matched the level of quality here, with an option for either English or Japanese. Regardless of your choice, I found both to be more than suitable. I particularly liked the attention to detail in capturing where each character was from, and their motivations in certain settings, their dialects, tones, and accents for example. Octopath Traveler 2 is everything I could have wanted in a sequel. It retains the fun combat from the first game, the beautiful presentation, and mostly fixes my issues with its writing for one great RPG. Sure, not all of the characters feel as impactful as the rest, but they all seem to finally weave together into a much grander story that actually feels worthy of playing. Dungeons aren't super interesting, but the combat and overall gameplay were enticing, with the fun story pulling me along. Octopath Traveler 2 scratches that itch for a classic SNES era RPG, but for the modern age, and it's a perfect point of jumping in considering you don't have to play the prior game to play this one. If only its writing was equally strong across all of the characters and its dungeon designs were better, I would have rated it a little higher. As is though, I'm giving Octopath Traveler 2 an 8.5 out of 10. If you're playing Octopath Traveler 2 right now, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. There's also a free demo available on pretty much PlayStation, Switch, and Steam, so give it a shot if you haven't already. On the left side of the screen you can find my last review, and at the bottom you can find a link to join my Discord. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.